This is part of a series of videos about very simple exercises that you can do at home that aren't going to take you a lot of time, and also some lifestyle changes which again aren't going to take you a lot of time. It's just looking at how you are using your time and just changing the way you operate in your everyday activities. So again, no extra time, no extra effort needed, just changing how you go about things. So the two exercises I'd like to show, first of all, are the two most basic ones that you can absolutely do every day, and they're going to take you a grand total of around 5 minutes. So the first one involves, we're going to use some spiky balls, which I'll just show you. Now, you need to get some really firm ones, okay? Or almost the firmer the better. There are ones that are totally rigid, and I wouldn't quite recommend there, although I think it's valuable to have a set of those in the house if you can get some totally rigid ones. They're hard to come by, but if you hunt, you may be able to find them. These are a little bit softer. But they're by no means really soft. They're nice and firm, and they hold their firmness like so. These are a few years old now, and they're starting to get a little bit too soft now, but that's from a lot of use, and they still do the job. We're going to use some other things for our feet, not just spiky balls. We're going to use some inflatable, larger, half hemispherical, what I call spiky domes, which are more going to be used for balancing and walking over and trying to challenge our balance. But these are more for penetrating the layers of tissue on the bottoms of our feet. So primarily not for balance, but more for giving some deep treatment to the bottoms of our feet. So let's just have a look at how we can do that. Now, first of all, when you start off, I'd suggest getting near a wall or something that you can hold on to, so balance is not an issue. When balance isn't an issue, your body's going to relax more, and these balls are going to penetrate deeper because your tissue is going to relax more. So when you first get on a spiky ball and you haven't tried it before, you don't want too much pressure. What I suggest is just bringing the back portion of your foot onto the ball and keeping some weight on the toes, like that, and just getting a feel for gentle pressure, first of all. I used to teach this really quite formally, 3 main positions, just towards the back of the heel, and then in the middle, and spending time in each position, and then more onto the ball of the foot. But really, and you can start off doing it that way if you like, but really in the end you're going to find a lot more gratification just exploring around any parts that bit always feels pretty good for me. So I like to spend quite a lot of time in this region of my foot, and actually leaning a little bit more onto that leg. Now, absolutely you can go all the way to just that sort of hollow where your toes join onto your foot. There's a little hollow in there. That's nice to get into. And if you can go further, if you can get right onto the pads of your toes, that you're getting even more out of this exercise. So certainly insides of the foot and outsides of the foot. And remember, if you spend time just stationary, your body will probably let go more if you give it time to let go layer by layer than if you're just going like this. But certainly try a combination of rolling, because rolling has its own value too. It's really quite stimulating to give those feet a nice roll. And then if you've got any particularly stubborn layers, just hang in there for some time. So if I just drop my upper body forwards, the effects that I'm going to feel in this position is mainly just going to be in my feet. And that's feeling very nice in my feet, but that's all I'm feeling. That's the only place where I'm feeling it. Now, if I rest my head back and my shoulders start to fall back and my chest opens, whatever sensation is being generated down in those feet it has a feeling of rushing up through my body and coming all up in a very sort of refreshing, opening way, which, if you can imagine what it's like getting out of bed in the morning and you don't feel any of those sensations at all, where you just want to plod around and stump around and you feel so heavy and contracted, this is like having a cup of tea in the morning. It just is so refreshing and lifting. But you only get that lifting effect if you come out of this position. So if you open out for it to come through. Lovely, good. So what I suggest is just spending about a minute as soon as you get out of bed on the spiky balls. The sooner you get on them, the more you're going to start off your whole day feeling refreshed and open. You're going to have that openness for energy to be passing through you rather than being squashed and suppressed. If you're thinking realistically, well, when am I ever going to do that when I get out of bed? Well, you probably aren't. Unless you put these balls right near your bed, probably not safe to put them out on the floor where you could fall on them, but just put them into the edge of the wall or under the bed, somewhere out of the way, but somewhere very close so that you can build that into your routine. The other time of day which is good to do it is just before bed. So before bed, a minute is fine. A minute of this is just brilliant. It's brilliant compared to not doing it at all. Every extra bit of time you give it is great too, but just give it a minute will make the world of difference. There are so many things that this can do when you think of there's a whole branch of therapy, foot reflexology that is built around getting the bottom surface of your feet decongested and loosened up. So we've got a lot more to talk about feet specifically, probably in another video. So the other basic exercise that you can do, which will take you a minimum of about 3 minutes a day. I'm going to take longer explaining it because I can show you a few little pointers with it, but you need to take no longer than 3 minutes, is just getting down on the floor. We're going to be kneeling, sitting cross-legged and side-legged. So first of all, start off kneeling. Now, if you can't get yourself seated right back on your legs all the way, we just need to grab a couple of cushions. If you can't get all the way, just start off with 2 cushions here. And you can have your feet side by side like that. And if you start to cramp, you can also roll up a towel or something like that and put it just underneath your the fronts of your ankles, just to keep a little bit of bend in your ankles, because as soon as you flatten those ankles out, that's going to make the bottoms of your feet a little bit prone to cramping. In time, hopefully you'll get used to maybe coming back to 1 pillow and then no pillows. So I'm just going to be working from a no pillow position. Now there's a few things we can do here, because again the foot position can be something like this, knees together and feet just touching, or we can have, this is a little bit harder, is have your feet out to the side and still knees together. that's going to put quite a nice stretch through what we call the stomach meridian, which is a very grounding meridian. And we can also come cross our feet over, which is quite a nice one, because if you sit back, you can work into your feet and ankles a bit of pressure, and you might find that crossing them one way, you're getting more good sensation than the other way. So work on the arrangement that you're getting more benefit from. And we can go wide-kneed. We can sit wide-kneed, like that too. Great, we can even sit wide-kneed and feet out to the side. And certainly wriggling is great. Now we can throw in some rotations. We can just do them fairly simply, just working to what feels good. You'll get different effects if you have your head up to if you have your head down. And it's really worthwhile doing both, because the line of stretch through your back will be different. We covered this in a different video. Head up tends to release the muscles around the spine, and head down works much more broadly from one side of your back to the other side. Lovely. So let's move to cross-legged, and it's usually good practice to notice first of all when you sit cross-legged where your feet cross to, and then change. That's usually going to be your more awkward position. And we can certainly do rocking like this, which we've covered in other videos. But mainly for today and in your 3-minute exercise, it's good to, again, just explore what you can achieve with some rotations. And you can always use your breath for an expansion, so expanding out into the lower body as you're using your upper body to pull you around. And just dropping on the out-breath and seeing if you can walk your hands around a little bit more to take up the slack, expanding on the in-breath, really using the floor to lever into with your lower body, not just your hands, and then dropping on your out-breath and taking up the slack. So we can do that to both sides. Again, you can experiment with head down and head up, and you'll get the same effect of either working into the spine or getting a more broad effect. Now let's try keeping one leg in that cross-leg position and just swinging the other leg out so that the foot is on the thigh. And here, for most people, when you first do this, it's going to be quite difficult to sit upright, but we're going to work on that. So if you think of these knees as being like arrow pointers, we just rotate round in the direction of those arrows, just like we were rotating before. And we can certainly use our breathing to lean into the floor with our legs as we lever ourselves around with our hands, like this. That feels so good today. And then on the out-breath, as we relax, we can take up the slack a little bit and then expand on that in-breath again. And this is where we can get some good neck therapy going, because just a little extra turn of the neck transmits all the way down. You can transmit it all the way down to that far leg that you're rotating away from. So just a little bit extra turn of the neck will connect that neck right down into that far leg. That's the way. So again, head down and head up. Now, we can rotate this way too. It's a little bit different because you may not be able to reach the floor. So just hold anything you can get a hold of. For some people it might be here. It might be here. It doesn't matter, just wherever your hands can reach to for the most levering effect. So for me it's here. So breathing in and leaning into this leg that I'm rotating away from. And out breath, just relax and take up the slack. And so for me now, I can bring this arm right around here and use this hand here. So breathing in, pushing off onto that leg, and on the out breath, just relaxing and taking up the slack. Great. And again, we can, the head down position is unbelievable here for me today. That's lovely. Now, having done our rotations each side, you should be feeling a little bit more loosened up here so that we can sit a little bit more upright. And if you just want to really work on that specifically, we can certainly throw in a little bit of a side stretch here. So we've got levering here, and we've got pushing down into here and pushing the ceiling up here. So using all our levers on our in-breath, and on the out-breath, just our body weight taking us over. So breathing in, and body weight, in other words gravity, taking us over. So it's important, even if in your 3 minutes of time, when you first start with this, just getting down, maybe with your pillows behind, just getting down nice and slowly, spending a little bit of time just moving around in that position, maybe just some tentative rotations. For a lot of people, that this is very new movement if you're not used to it. Trying to come into a cross-leg position. It doesn't matter if you start here. It doesn't matter the starting point. All the principles are all the same. You're just letting your body start to organize itself again around being on the ground. We are earthbound beings, and we need to be on the ground for that interactivity that our body needs to function properly. So just getting down on the ground, even if it feels awkward, even if your back is like this, make it your starting point to just get down. And over time things will start to organise, because a whole body design is to fit very well into interaction with the floor. Now just one little last tip. Often when people are seated, cross-legged or even in a chair or at a table, you find this sort of effect, which is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the shoulders coming forward like this and the chest just sinking down. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just that if you have no kind of opposite position to that, then it becomes a fixed habitual state, which is not good for the body's health, to just be in one state or one position and not take it through to its opposite. So let's just work on how to come out of this collapsed shoulders up by the ears position. And we can quite easily do that just with a little bit of attention. If we think, rather than letting our shoulders drop forwards, if we think of leaning with our elbows into our legs, letting our legs take the weight for us, and just subtly using that leaning, that weight into our shoulders to lever that chest open. We're still resting, we're still leaning, we're just changing the arrangement of how we lean. And that's not to say that every time you sit down you need to be like this, lovely and open and all perfect and connected, because there are times when we need to come out of connection. We need to go into that more just random, chaotic state of things not connecting. Because if you went around like this all the time, you would start to get fixed in that state too. You would only know one way to connect. You would get very rigid in that one way of staying all nice and open and 3 centres of connection all connecting up. But if you come out of that, if you just drop out of that, you sort of go into this just shambly, chaotic state, and you shake off those connections. What can happen is your body can prepare itself for new connections. So already, when I'm leaning down into my arms like that, I can feel myself opening up slightly differently and slightly more fully than in my initial semi sort of rigid, a little bit limited open arrangement. So always coming into connection and then falling out of connection, preparing the bed, so to speak, the garden bed for new things to be made possible, to spring forth, is really important. This is why I tend not to ever say any position of the body is bad. It's just that if you keep doing it and you don't take it through into other ranges of movement that are not just different but kind of opposite to it, that becomes a problem. And unfortunately for a lot of us, that is our problem. We do get fixed in either rigid kind of, this is my way through life and this is the only way I get through life, or this is the only way I get through life, then that's what becomes a problem. So we should be able to open, and we should be able to let go and collapse. Open and collapse, because if you're too open, you become inflexible. So that's all for this video, which is just on a 5-minute program, which I've given you weeks and weeks of little tips that you can work on and build up to in those 5 minutes, and your starting point will be just really basic. Just get on those balls, just get on a wall, and get yourself from having your toes down to fully weight bearing on the balls. And same with starting off in your sitting positions. Just try and get yourself down, even if it's just to here, and just wriggling and trying to make yourself as comfortable as you can. Just starting off there, because in the end what you'll find is a great relief, because your body will be coming out of abnormality. Okay, you might think this is strange at first, but then when your body starts to soften up, you'll feel, this really is real normality. I feel so connected and less tense, and I guess more open to life itself and less shut off from life itself. Whatever we do with our body has a corresponding effect with our psyche and our emotions. So please try and enjoy these 5 minutes. They are not punishments. They are exercises designed to make you come home to your body's natural design, and not just your body, but your whole natural state. So please look at this as a fun opportunity.